Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed to begin. I think it's chapter 6, text 214. Even if we heard it yesterday, we can hear it again. 214. And even the prose is like poetry. Still, it is towards each of the gopis, in the millions and millions, that Krishna always clearly shows the greatest attachment, compassion, and love. Commentary. In this context, priti, or affection, means, quote, pure ecstatic love. Kripa, or mercy, means the signs that display this love, and asakti, attachment, means exclusive dedication. That's Krishna towards the gopis. 215. This serves as evidence for hundreds of logical arguments by which persons like me can understand that no one in that abode or elsewhere is as dear to him as the gopis. Commentary. Krishna's love, compassion, and attachment, same as above, priti, kripa, and asakti. Krishna's love, compassion, and attachment for the gopis are proof enough to convince Sarup that no one, not even any other resident of Goloka, is as dear to Krishna as the gopis. These three signs have led Sarup to discover hundreds of arguments in favor of this conclusion. 216. Yet, when Krishna shows special love for one of the gopis, it then becomes apparent that she is the most dear to him. And guess who that is? 217. All the gopis partake of that exalted and most perfect love, and they all constantly know the pleasure of Krishna's never-ending chain of pastimes. Yet, none of the gopis even imagines that Krishna has special love for her. Now, there are other examples where it seems it's otherwise. Commentary. Even though there are so many gopis eager to have Krishna's mercy, none of them lacks opportunities to satisfy him by her service. This is proof that all the gopis have attained the highest perfection of pure devotional service, yet none of them thinks herself Krishna's only beloved. I see. Caring nothing for their own happiness, they want only to do whatever pleases him. 218. Each of them thinks, oh, when will I be fortunate enough to become even the lowliest maid servant of Krishna? Unquote. Commentary. The ambition of every young gopi in Goloka is to someday gain the good fortune to be allowed to enter Krishna's service, even in the lowest position. Such, here's the word again, utter humility. It's not in the verse, but that's okay. Dainya. Utter humility distinguishes them from the young gopas, the male cowherds, who tend to consider themselves Krishna's favorites and presume themselves very fortunate. The gopas often feel dissatisfied with themselves for various reasons, due to the nature of their exalted love for Krishna. They then become anxious to be better servants of Krishna. The gopis' love, however, is on the highest level of perfection. They are never satisfied with themselves, for their humility is absolute. Each of them considers herself Krishna's worst maidservant, her only hope being to somehow be permitted to continue serving him despite her disqualifications. In this way, the moods of the gopas and gopis are different. There's other ways too. Paragraph. The devotees of Narayana in Sri Vaikuntha also never feel that they have had enough of the ecstasy of worshiping the Lord's lotus feet, but every one of them assumes that the all-powerful personality of Godhead is completely merciful to all of them without discrimination. The Golokavasis cannot think like that. This is all very subtle, wonderful. 219. Oh my Lord, it is amazing how intent. So he's speaking to the Brahmana, but he's now talking to Krishna, like Uddhava. Oh my Lord, it is amazing how intently these devotees are absorbed in the fathomless rasa of pure love. The exalted nature of their mood is incomprehensible, even to great sages. 220. One day, while playing on the shore of the Yamuna, Lord Krishna Nandanandana heard that Kaliya had come back to his lake. Pastime. Commentary. The lake in which Kaliya once stayed continued to be known as Kaliya Hrada, or Kaliya's lake, even after his expulsion from Braja. 221. Krishna rushed there alone, swiftly climbing a nipa tree. Nipa, Kadamba tree, and dived into the lake, splashing water onto the shore. Commentary. Krishna thought it wise not to bring his companions with him to Kaliya's lake, which had become poisoned again. He was also concerned that they might try to stop him from jumping into the lake. The vigorous way Krishna dived is described in the Bhagavatam 10:16-7. Quote, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead landed in the serpent's lake, the snakes there became extremely agitated and began breathing heavily, further polluting it with volumes of poison. The force of the Lord's entrance into the lake made it overflow on all sides, and poisonous, fearsome waves flooded the surrounding lands up to a distance of 100 bow lengths. This is not at all amazing, however, for the Supreme Lord possesses infinite strength. 222. Krishna frolicked in the water, enjoying the sport of swimming back and forth and making all sorts of loud noises. But then he drew near the cruel Kaliya and out of curiosity allowed himself to be enveloped in the serpent's coils. Out of curiosity. Commentary. When Krishna played in the water, the noise he created was not ordinary, semicolon. It sounded like very pleasing music. 223. When Krishna's companions, the cowherd boys, saw that for no good reason he was gone, they all became as if struck down by death and great anxiety to find him. They followed his footprints to the lake. Commentary. At first, the cowherd boys had no idea where Krishna might have gone, and they didn't know what to do. But soon they noticed footprints leading out of the village. Those footprints could not have been those of anyone but Krishna because they had special marks, such as a flag and an elephant goat, 224. These many young friends were the same boys who, losing sight of Krishna on the forest paths for but a moment, would lose their will to live. And now when they saw him motionless, they all fainted. Commentary. The footprints led the boys to the lake, but there they saw Krishna immobilized, enwrapped in the serpent's coils. When Krishna and the boys had been on excursions in the forest, and Krishna had passed even a moment behind a tree, and the boys couldn't see him, the boys would lose all enthusiasm for living. And now, to see Kaliya about to kill Krishna filled them with dread. 225. All the village animals, the cows, the bulls, the calves, and also the animals of the forest, stood on the shore, eyes fixed on Krishna's face, and their cries made a great roar of suffering. Birds, exhausted from loudly crying, flew precipitously into the lake. Trees and plants suddenly dried up, and many terribly inauspicious omens appeared. Commentary. All creatures, including the birds and plants, agonized over Krishna's predicament. They were all on the verge of death. The earth trembled amidst other portentous omens. This is quoting a verse from chapter 16 of Canto 10. In the Vrindavan area, then arose all three types of fearful omens, those on the earth, those in the sky, and those in the bodies of living creatures, which announced imminent danger. 227. Inspired by Lord Krishna from within, one old man went running to the cowherd village. He wept and made dreadful cries of, "Alas, alas," and told the cowherds what was happening. Commentary. Sri Nanda and the other cowherds, having seen the bad omens and received no news about Krishna, were about to die from anxiety. To relieve their suffering, Krishna telepathically inspired an old cowherd to go tell them of the situation. Had Krishna not ordered him in that way, the old man would not have had the strength to run back to Vraja. Krishna is Prabhu, the Lord, so he can empower anyone to do anything. He made an old person his messenger because an elder's words are less likely to interfere with anyone's intimate rasa and more likely to be trusted. Paragraph. Actually, the desperation the Brajvasis felt over seeing evil omens and having no news about Krishna was designed to increase their special love for him. Surely they would come quickly to Kaliya's lake when they learned he was there, Krishna. 228. The people of the cowherd village had already noticed many frightening omens. Krishna was the source of Vraja's good fortune, and the cowherds, frantic with concern for him, had already started out to seek him. Commentary. The Brajavasis knew that as long as Krishna was safe, nothing bad would ever happen. The evil portents might therefore indicate that Krishna was in great danger. With this terrible thought in mind, they all went at once to look for him. They were already outside the village when the old messenger met them. 229. The added force of the old man's report, spoken with a voice choking in his throat, struck them suddenly like a bolt of lightning. Commentary. The shock of hearing that Kaliya had returned and was again holding Krishna as coils was unbearable. 230. Balaram, who was sitting in his house, tried to console the people of Braja, who were running forward like living corpses. This can't be true, he cried out. This can't be true. Balaram somehow told his mother Rohini of the news, got her to stay back to watch the house, and ran to catch up with those who had left. Commentary. Knowing the power of his younger brother Krishna, Balaram couldn't believe that Kali had defeated him. Balaram came out of the house and ran into the street, spontaneously shouting, "This can't be true." Seeing the Brajavasis hurrying on their way to join the search for Krishna, Balaram tried to calm them, and he had to speak to his mother before he left. So he was one of the last to arrive on the scene. 232. He soon reached the lake. Seeing his younger brother in such a state, he couldn't keep his gravity and wept in the distress of love as he lamented in ways that would shatter logs and stones. Suddenly he fainted, just like Yashoda and Nanda. Commentary. In the bewildering commotion, Yashoda and Nanda had already fainted and fallen to the ground. 234. Then all living beings there made a great and fearful cry full of agony that made the whole universe cry in pain. Awakened by that tumult, Balaram, the most determined of heroes, with great effort, steadied himself. 236. A moment later, Krishna's parents again became conscious. Seeing their son in such a plight, they cried loudly and rushed to enter the lake, but powerful Sri Balaram held them back with the strength of his arms. Commentary. It had taken all of Lord Balaram's mental strength to convince his mother to stay home, and now it took all his physical strength to restrain Nanda and Yashoda. 237. Seeing everyone unconscious on the ground as if dead, Balaram was overcome with sorrow. In a voice choked with emotion, he called out to Krishna. 238. Sri Baladev said, "These are not the attendants who live with you in Vaikuntha. They are not the forest monkeys. They are not the Yadavas. These are your devotees of Goloka who have no life other than you. They are dying, my Lord, and there is nothing I can do to save them." Commentary. Here, Balaram reminds Krishna that the Goloka devotees are different from Krishna's other eternal associates, his Vaikuntha Parshadas, his monkey soldiers of Ayodhya like Hanuman, and the Yadus of Dwaraka like Uddhava. More than all these other devotees, the Golokavasis are exclusively dependent on Krishna. The Lord's devotees in Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, and Dwaraka, being always aware of Krishna's omnipotence, managed to tolerate separation from him, so they could have responded favorably to Balaram's consoling words. But the hearts of these Golokavasis, under the intolerable weight of their prema, have lost all equilibrium. The Golokavasis cannot accurately estimate Krishna's power. So they are convinced that Kaliya is about to finish him. If, if Krishna himself does not act soon to relieve them, surely they will die. 239. Oh, merciful Krishna, please give up this game before these devotees die. Otherwise, O Krishna, sole friend of the cowherds, your gentle heart will come to grief. Tension. Commentary. Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas, and so he feels pathos, or karuna rasa. But although he enjoys the sport of pretending to be lifeless, his devotees are driven to desperation by it. If he doesn't stop this sport, he will be the last one to lament. When all his devotees have died. Lord Balaram is playing on Krishna's emotions because he knows that Krishna cannot tolerate seeing his devotees suffer. 240. Sri Sarup said, the gopis cried and lamented in so many ways, their limbs in terrible pain, their hearts shattered by sorrow. They fainted and fainted, as if to go to the side of their Lord. They tried to enter the lake. Commentary. On the way to the lake, the gopis repeatedly fainted at the mere thought of Krishna's distress, and so they arrived last. Their hair was scattered, and their broken bangles and other ornaments scratched their arms. They tried to enter the lake as if is in quotation marks, as if to join Krishna. But their real purpose was to drown themselves. Paragraph. Someone might question, quote, how could these gopis, who are worshipped by the wisest scholars in creation, be so ignorant of the Supreme Lord's power? Unquote. The answer is that their minds were distracted by sorrow. It is unreasonable to think that the exalted gopis cannot suffer sorrow, semicolon. In fact, they simply cannot bear to be apart from Krishna, even for a moment. 241. Suddenly, the Lord stopped his self-invented sport and freed himself from the grip of Kaliya's coils. He climbed up on the serpent's thousands of upraised, outspread hoods and extended his lotus arms. Commentary. To save the gopis from despair, Krishna extracted himself from the clutches of Kaliya's embrace, before the girls could reach the water. He jumped up onto Kaliya's uncountable hoods and spread his arms to lift the gopis up to be with him, even though the gopis were out of arm's reach. He is Prabhu, and so can do anything he wants. He is never restricted by the laws of nature. They have a dancing platform. 242. Taking hold of all his beloved gopis at once, Krishna briskly raised them onto the hoods of the snake. Those hoods, delightfully swaying back and forth, appeared like rows of jeweled platforms, creating a most impressive sight. 243. Krishna artfully danced with the gopis on those most amazing stages, accompanied by many celestial singers and musicians. Thus, Lord Krishna, the source of all amusement, enjoyed his rasa dance pastime. It's not over yet. Commentary. Never before had anyone seen such stages for dancing as these. To complement the festivities, many demigods appeared in the sky overhead singing and playing musical instruments. In this atmosphere, Krishna and the gopis fully enjoyed their dancing. The entire spectacle was created by the energies of Krishna, who is Kotu Karnava, the source of all entertainment. Kotu Karnava, the source of all entertainment. Sri Nanda and the other older cowherds, slow to recover from their deep shock, did not witness this rasa dance. That answers an important question. 244. Nanda and the others on the shore, brought back to consciousness by Balaram, gazed at Krishna with delight and surprise. Commentary. Even though Krishna was saved, the older cowherds were still wary of what else Kaliya might do. 245. Having thus subdued the king of snakes, Krishna, grinning, seized the shawls of the serpent's wives, the Nagapatnis, who were offering him prayers. From these garments he made a long rein, and with his left hand playfully pierced and threaded Kaliya's nose. Mounting the serpent like a horse, Krishna toughly drove him forward all the while with his right hand happily playing the flute. 248. From time to time, Krishna forcefully urged Kaliya on with the flute as if it were a whip. Thus he showered great mercy on Kaliya by making that serpent his carrier. Commentary. Having to carry Krishna like a horse is hardly a degrading punishment. Only rare souls like Garuda can have the honor of being the Supreme Lord's carrier, as the Nagapatnis stated in their prayers to Krishna in the 10th canto, chapter 16, text 34, quote, "What you have done here is actually mercy for us, since the punishment you give to the wicked certainly drives away all their contamination indeed, because this conditioned soul, our husband, is so sinful that he has assumed the body of a serpent. Your anger towards him is obviously to be understood as your mercy." 249. The Nagapatnis offered Krishna clothing, fragrant paste, flower garlands, and priceless jewels, and Krishna placed these on the serpent's hoods. Then with Padma, Utpala, and other lotus flowers, those wives had brought to offer him from the Yamuna, with the same ornaments he had already put on Kaliya, Krishna decorated the gopis and himself. Commentary. When the Nagapatnis presented ornaments to Krishna, he did not immediately put them on his own body. First, he placed them on Kaliya's hoods, and then, while he and the gopis were all standing on the hoods, he decorated the gopis and himself. 251. While the king of serpents, with his countless mouths, recited prayers to Krishna, Krishna emerged from the lake, making all his friends and family dance with joy. Commentary. With so many mouths, Kaliya could nicely offer prayers. In this way, he was blessed by Krishna to become like Anantashesh. 252. Together with the troop of young cowherd girls, most amazing Krishna dismounted Kaliya. The serpent was filled with happiness, for he obtained great favors and benedictions, difficult for even Garuda to achieve. Commentary. Kaliya had good reason to be satisfied, for his heads had been graced by the presence of Krishna and the gopis. And Krishna offered him other benedictions, including the boon that Kaliya's hoods would always bear the auspicious marks of Krishna's feet. Krishna is the most amazing person because he shows such kindness even to wicked creatures like Kaliya. 253. Krishna was drenched by a flood of joyful tears from the eyes of Nanda and the others, who absorbed themselves in worshiping and embracing him again and again. Krishna then mercifully gave the king of the serpents some instructions and exiled him from the lake. Commentary. Krishna's command is recorded in the Bhagavatam, chapter 16, 60 to 61. O serpent, you may not remain here any longer. Go back to the ocean immediately, accompanied by your retinue of children, wives, other relatives, and friends. Let this river be enjoyed by the cows and humans. If a mortal being attentively remembers my command to you to leave Vrindavan and go to the ocean, and narrates this account at sunrise and sunset, he will never be afraid of you. And then there's a bunch of pictures. After the pictures. Out of sheer spontaneous joy, the throng of cowherd men and women celebrated a charming festival of music, song, and other expressions of gaiety. Completely satisfied, Krishna returned to his village. Now there's another pastime, Keshi and Arishta. And what time is it? It's after 8 o'clock. I think that's a good place to break.
Maharaj?
Yeah.
I have 2 questions.
Okay, let's hear.
First one, like the demons, more specifically Kaliya, because he's different from the other demons, that he takes shelter of Krishna at the end.
Yeah.
Is this a figment of Yoga Maya, or is this actually like a Kaliya participating in a pastime with Krishna?
It doesn't say, where he's coming from. It says where he's going to. I mean, I don't know anything about where he's coming from. Is it, it seems like you're asking, is he not really a demon? He's just like taking that role because it's for Krishna's pleasure.
Or is it Yoga Maya like the other demons?
Well, all of Krishna's pastimes with the devotees and the demons, all of Krishna's pastimes are under the direction, the orchestration of Yogamaya. And I mentioned, it was after the class yesterday, the conclusion of both Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami that in Goloka, because this is Goloka, in Goloka, there are demigods, Goloka demigods, not the worldly demigods, and there are demons, but spiritual, in quality fully spiritual, not the demons like in Gokula. And they're there for Krishna's pleasure. So there's an answer. Now, I'm familiar with this because I mentioned this yesterday, I've spent like 2 weeks going over this topic with scripture and Shiva Maharaj and back to scripture and in Brahma Samhita, and because the statements are made, there's 2 that are contradictory, that appear contradictory. There's no demons in Goloka. 2, there's absolutely no difference between Goloka and Gokula, but there's demons in Gokula. So how do you reconcile? They're opposite. They clash. And that there are demons in Goloka, but they're not the demons that are opposed to Krishna. But they take the position of those who are opposed to Krishna for Krishna's pleasure. And the second reason, part of Krishna's pleasure, is to enhance and amplify the feelings of love for Krishna, like how he does everything. how he disappears from the rasa dance and how he does everything. He did, and then watches what they're going to do, and because it's strengthening their love for him. And then he shows up again, and it's as if he didn't go away. It's pleasure pastimes. So the answer is, there's another part to the answer. He's a Yogamaya demon. And then it's not, I don't know if it's here, I don't think it's here. Elsewhere, it's stated that he makes a prayer to Krishna. I think it's Padma Purana, where the same Leela is described. And he prays to Krishna, in some future circumstance, let me become your carrier like Garuda. And then there's commentary that's from our acharyas that says, in fact, when Krishna appears sometimes, instead of Akura coming to take Krishna to Mathura, it's Kaliya comes to Krishna to take Krishna to Mathura. He's Krishna's carrier. So there's diversity out there in Krishna's pastimes. And the main function is Krishna's enjoyment and, giving different devotees different positions of service. And some of them are just, so they have a mood as if they're, attacking Krishna or something. Now, exactly, it's not elaborated upon how those Yogamaya demons work. This is not like what we're accustomed to hearing. But we're reading Brhad Bhagavatamrta, and so the question comes up, so what's going on? And that's the answer to your question. They're Yogamaya demons. As all the living entities in Goloka are Yogamaya energized or conducted in all the various ways. We came across this even in Goloka, even in Vaikuntha, when Gopakumara is standing at the gates of Vaikuntha, seeing who's coming as he's waiting for permission to enter, he sees all kinds of people. And included in the people he sees going into Goloka are persons that have bodies like demons in Vaikuntha. I mean, that's a shockaroo. Because we hear, we're accustomed to hearing, everyone in Vaikuntha has 4 arms, and the only distinction is there's the Kaustubha and the Srivatsa. That's it. And otherwise, everyone looks alike. That's what we're used to hearing. And, in comes Sanatana Goswami saying, not quite that. I mean, there are lots of them look just like Narayana, and then lots of them look like whatever they look like. And then further, the Lord looks to them like their love for him. Not always is he looking like a 4-armed Narayan. It's like very colorful up there.
I had a second.
I'm ready.
That's it. It's kind of similar to the previous one. Sarupa, when describing these pastimes, has a very third-person view.
Yes.
And it seems that he has constant knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which seems different from most other people in Braja. So
that's correct. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. That's a good point. Because no one in Braja has that view, but he does. And he's speaking Brhad Bhagavatamrta. So it's not the same, but it's a little bit like Sanatana Goswami, who understands both. I mean, Sanatana Goswami, and he's, a Mandri assistant of Radharani. So he's both. It's like, if you get a chance to, when your exams are over or you get a break or something, you get a chance to hear these classes. Madhavananda Prabhu has been giving classes. Madhavananda?
Yes.
Yeah. Has been. Yes. Yeah. Yes. on a certain set of prayers, which I asked, so he forwarded it to me, about the 10 prayers by Raghunath Das Goswami to Govardhan, because he's a worshiper of Govardhan. So his whole class is an hour long, detail after detail after detail in his own way of doing things, of scriptural references and explaining it. The punchline is that Raghunath Das and the other Goswamis of Vrindavan see Govardhan as a devotee. He's both Hari and he's Haridas, Haridas Varya. And then his question is, what's his rasa? And the conclusion is, his rasa is conjugal, which includes the other moods too. It's, you have to listen to it. I've become familiar with the references, the sources at least. But so who's Govardhan, and who's Sanatana Goswami, and who's Sarup, which is your question. And they're, as followers of Lord Chaitanya, they're both. Govardhan is Hari, very clearly. He ate everything. He's Hari. And he's Haridas Varya at the same time, like Lord Chaitanya. That was in his talk. Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord, Krishna, and he's in the mood of a devotee. So how do we view Lord Chaitanya? He's the Supreme Lord, and we worship him that way. And we also understand he's in the mood of his devotee, and in the mood of his devotee, he's teaching something. So Sarup is like that, like Govardhan. He's a devotee. He's a Brajbasi. He's becoming Brajbasi, but he also has some understanding. Unlike the other Brajbasis, they don't have that understanding that he has. So he's like, he's like Sanatana Goswami. Or he's like Raghunath Das, that sees Govardhan as Haridas Varya. And he prays to be, have a mood like him. And he does have a mood like him. But where's when, so you get it's a mystery. It's a profound mystery. Not easy to understand. Mystery.
Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada Jai.